Dani, we are proud of you.
Thank you.
Remember our kids, our sons, we're like the architect someday. Our houses that we want to build. We're calling you. We're proud of you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
And now it's Dani's turn to regale us with this.
Dani, you have 12 minutes. Dani, you have 12 minutes.
Nasa laptop.
May rebuttal.
You have 12 minutes of video, Dani.
Lalabas na yung LCD projector.
Mali yung lighting.
You know, when I'll say thank you afterwards, because frankly, I'm overwhelmed by this. When Paul texted me the other day, last week actually, my first response was, "Who's this?" for some Paul's number and name is on my phone, but for some reason his name never comes out. And you know, this is the first testimonial I've ever had in my honor. And I was trying to think, you know, what is a testimonial, no? And you know, when I don't know what the word means, I try to look at the root word, test, and you know, testament.
Forget it.
So anyway, so that gave me an indication as to what to expect. I would first want to test some of Paul's statements, which are not altogether true, because in terms of academic achievements, we do have Juni, who was president
For the last 6 years. 9 years.
of an academic institution, which you know, to a large extent, administratively also is a huge honor. Also, we have our other friend Rico Jose, who also from UP, who is on a fellowship right now for 1 year, but before he left was the acting chairman of the history department. And to be chair of a department in the arts and letters is almost the same, is practically the same as being the dean of a small college with 500 students. And many people are misled by the idea that the College of Architecture is an academic institution. Nobody wants to be dean. It is a position that is fiercely contested in the sense that people are constantly saying, "Ikaw na lang." And that's why in the 51 years of the college, we're almost the same age, there have only been six deans. Dean Jubilon was dean for over 20 years. Dean Manahan was dean for 1 term. Then the youngest dean, I'm not the youngest dean. The youngest dean was the late Dean Honrado Fernandez, Dean Honey, who passed away 2 years ago at the age of 55. But he was dean for 3 terms, 9 years. So he became dean at the ripe old age of 46, several years our junior. Then after Honey, it was Dean Espina, who was dean for 1 term. And then Dean Hedy, who was dean for 1.5 terms. She retired in August, mandatory retirement, and that's the only reason I came in midstream. So that's the only time I'm going to be able to rebut what Attorney Poblador says in public. But you know, I am happy. He didn't mention that I'm also good in bed. Of course, he's a giant among men.
Yeah, right. We have 6 evidence.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I'm just using up the time, but you know, but no, it is an interesting job, albeit largely bureaucratic and administrative. I've had the fun of over the past 17 years having met second generation, both Philippine Science second generation. I remember one of the first, when she introduced herself in class, was a Lagunzad. And I said, ano mo si Dan? Because si Dan ang kasabay natin sa ROTC. Said, sir, tiyo ko yun. Sabi ko, ano mo si Sincere? Sir, dati ko yun. Tapos nagpigil ako ng, I was counting the years. And I found out, ikaw yung nakita ko sa tiyan ng mami mo nung freshman.
Freshman tayo.
She's a spitting image of her mother. Si Amor.
Okay.
And then, of course, in recent years, 2 years ago, Gigi texted me and said that she had a daughter, her eldest daughter, Melissa, was coming into the College of Architecture.
How could you refuse?
Actually, I didn't have to refuse. Fortuitously for her, she ended up in my freshman design class for 2 semesters. Well, no, but luckily hindi siya nadala sa architecture, and apparently Gigi says she's still having a good time there. So I think on the part of the academe, as Paul said, well, Paul was saying, he forgot to mention, of course, the oft-quoted saying that those who can practice and those who can't teach.
But for lawyers, Dani.
It's very much the same for architects. And those who design houses with roofs that leak. Luckily, Paul, well, no, actually, I've had the opportunity and fun to design for several of our batchmates. The first one was actually Nanette. So the first house we designed for her back in 1980, a year after graduation, no, 81. Luckily the roof didn't leak because the house was never built. And because it was never built, you know, she was insane enough to ask me to design her second house, which was built by her husband, Matt. So that was one of the earliest houses that I did for a batchmate. Then the second one was for ducks in Los Baños. That was actually a renovation of her existing house, which her husband also built. That's a good sign there, because if their husband builds the houses, they can't run to you to complain that the roof's leaking. Si Erwin, walang kwenta, hindi gumagawa, hindi bahay.
Surgeon.
So Erwin.